Shalom Israel, and welcome to another edition of Yasharallah's 20-minute breakdown, where I'll attempt to break down the scriptures within 20 minutes. But by now, you know how we do it, Israel. We give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Waha, Rakah, Kadash, and the Akims and the elders in the highways and byways pushing this word in truth and sincerity. All praises. And the elder women teaching the younger women, all praises to you too. And the camps and the solo brothers going out there pushing this word, edifying body, making videos, putting it out there in social media and all outlets possible to push the truth according to scripture. All praises to you too. Now, what I'm going to touch on today, that's something that's been bothering me for quite some time now, and I think it's time I did a quick lesson on it. I always say quick, but I always tend to run out of time. But never mind. Anyway, it's this replacement theology. It's this replacement theology that the church has. This modern day Christian church that they have today on the earth. And what that is, basically, what they're saying is the children of Israel, the stock that actually came from like the loins of Abraham through to Isaac, through to Jacob, and then you had the 12 tribes of Israel that came from the seed of Jacob, and then you have Judah, Benjamin, Levi, Gad, Reuben, Simeon, Naphtali, and and so forth. You had all the 12 tribes that come from that seed line. Now what the modern day Christian church has done, they've now done this replacement theology, because now they don't talk about the real children of Israel, which are the real Jews and so forth. What they do come with, that the church has replaced the Israelites. So that's what they come with. So they say, if you believe, you're as good as a child of God. You're the children of Israel once you believe, yeah? And they use Romans 2 verse 28 to try to use that scripture to back up what they believe, because they say, oh, that scripture is talking about spiritual Israel. That's what they say. I've heard it many times that they say, oh, that scripture is talking about spiritual Israel. So, you can be a spiritual Israelite, once you believe. You believe, and you're a member of the church, because according to the Christian church, the modern day Christian church, is that the church has replaced the Israelites. So all these so-called churchgoers now, they're now the one that the promise was ordained to. And now when you go into scripture, the scripture doesn't back up that theology at all. Now there's the problem. Now that's the problem in itself. I mean, we have to say, what does the Bible say? What did the Most High God say? What did Yahweh Shai say, the one that you call Christ? What did he actually say? What did he teach? And remember, the Bible was written aforetime for our learning, that through the scriptures that we will have patience and will work towards the kingdom. That's what the scriptures are there for, to give us, and it shows us also things that our forefathers did. So so we can continue in their footsteps, providing they do and they be obedient to the Most High, because there's a lot of scriptures where they have gone off and they have paid the price. Every time we went off, the Most High sent our enemies against us, and they would subdue us and we'll go into slavery. But when we were doing right, we would conquer our enemies, and we'd be the ruling nation, and we'd be up there and nobody can touch us. And and as you can see, we have gone off big time, because our oppressors are ruling over us, and we are oppressed in every way possible. The scriptures tell you why. All you got to do is turn to the Most High God, keep his commandments with the faith of Yahweh Shai, the one you call Christ, and and he would deliver us once again out of this captivity. But no, What you want to do, you want to stay in these Christian establishments, which were set up by Rome. Yes, Christianity came through the Romans. And you know what's funny, right? Because you come with this replacement theology, but you look at this now. The Greeks, back in the days when Alexander the so-called Great was reigning, under the Greeks are still here today, and they're still operating as the Greeks. And then the Romans, Romans now, they're still here today, but they no longer call, even though you have Italy, where Rome is in Italy, what they call themselves now, Italians. They don't call themselves Romans, because the Romans have not got a great history on how they dealt with people. So what the people have done, they've cast off being called Romans, and now they call themselves Italians. But it's the same people. Yeah? It's the same people. Just want to give you just the point I want to make, showing you that those people back then, the Babylonians, the Egyptians, they're still on the earth today. So why wouldn't the Israelites, the true children of Israelites, why wouldn't they be still on the earth today? So everybody else is on the earth, but the Israelites have been replaced by the church. Come on. Even in scriptures, when you go to Ecclesiastes chapter 4 verse 16, even the Bible tells you clear, there's no end of the people, showing you that the descendants of the true Israelites are still on the earth today. But because we are a destroyed people, we do not know who we are. We are calling ourselves after lands where we were born. That's the issue. And bywords that we were given when we were in slavery, like colored, black, Negro, those are bywords. They're not our true identity. They're not what the Most High God called us when he delivered us out of Egypt, when we was in bondage, meaning slavery back in Egypt. Us as a people, slavery is profound with us, because we just don't want to hear the laws of the Most High. We want to do our own thing. And then we look at these other nations who are lawless, and we gravitate to what they're doing because it seems fun. We don't want to keep no laws. We want to do what the other nations are doing. But the difference is the other nations wasn't bound by the laws, statutes, and commandments. So they will get their judgment. Trust me, it says it in the scriptures. They will get their judgment. But for now, the Most High is judging his people. And he tells you all over the scriptures who his people is. In the Old Testament, right up to the New Testament. Tells you who his people is. Which are the Israelites. Which are the descendants of, Jacob, and so forth. Through the loins, seed line. Not just because you believe you can be a spiritual Israelite. Yeah, so we got to cut that out. Anyway, I'm going to read this scripture, and then we're going to break this down. Let's see if Paul, when he was teaching in Romans, let's see if that verse is talking about spiritual Israel or actual Israelites that forgot who they were because they had gone off big time, and they were given the heritage of heathens, and they were treated as heathens by some of their own people who were keeping the law. So they were treated as heathens. So with that, I've got my timer ready. In 3, 2, 1, boom, we're away. Let's go straight in there with the book of Romans chapter 2 and verse 28. And it reads, Romans chapter 2 verse 28. And it reads, for he is not a Jew which is one outwardly, neither is that circumcision which is outward in the flesh. Now that's the verse they use. They're trying to say, oh, that's talking about spiritual Israel. Well, let's see. Let's see if that's talking about spiritual Israel. First and foremost, let's rewind the clock first. Let's go right back to the beginning. Let's go to the book of Exodus, yeah? Exodus chapter 1 and verse 5. Let's go back there first. Now, let's see what this says. Listen to this. The book of Exodus chapter 1 and verse 5. And it reads, And all the souls that came out of the loins of Jacob were 70 souls. And then it reads, for Joseph was in Egypt already. Now you see that showing you these are all the souls that came out of Jacob, out of his loins, out of his seed line. As for Jacob, as for Joseph, Joseph was in Egypt already. This is just when they were going to Egypt because of the famine, but Joseph was already there. Right, just wanted to show you this talks about the loins of Jacob. It's telling you what came out of his seed line, not no spiritual just because he believed. Now watch this. I'm going to jump to the book of 1 Kings chapter 11. I'm going to take it 11 and verse 31 to 32. I'm going to take it at 31 to 32. Now listen to this, people, and it reads 1 Kings chapter 11 verse 31. And it reads, and he said to Jeroboam, take thee 10 pieces, for thus saith the Lord, the God of Israel. Hear that? The God of Israel. He doesn't say he's the God of everybody. The God of Israel. Behold, I will rend the kingdom out of the hand of Solomon, and give thee 10 tribes to thee. So he's going to give Jeroboam 10 tribes. Verse 32, listen to this. But he shall have 1 tribe for my servant David's sake, and for Jerusalem's sake, the city which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel. So that's showing you, I mean, you could read up into that more yourself further up, but that's just showing you that Jeroboam, which was Solomon's servant, was going to get 10 tribes because Solomon had sinned, and Rehoboam, which was Solomon's son, was going to get 1 tribe because Solomon's son was from the tribe of Judah. So the Most High was only going to give him 1 tribe, which when you read on, that 1 tribe was the tribe of Benjamin. And Jeroboam would get the other 10 tribes. So showing you now there was a split in Israel. You had now the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. The northern kingdom was, the head tribe was Ephraim and the other tribes. The southern kingdom was Judah and Benjamin, which was 2 tribes. I mean, later on, as you read on, you'll find that there were some, Levites, which had joined them. But like, I'm just taking it on that point there, just showing you there was a split in the kingdom. So you had the Jews, because remember, you was only a Jew if you was from the tribe of Judah. But because Judah and Benjamin had now been together with some Levites eventually, they were classed as the house of Judah. And the other 10 tribes, were classed as the house of Israel. So we have to be clear on that, right? Now, with that said, now listen to this now. I'm going to just show you something now, because when it said, when that verse that I've opening verse where it's Romans 2:28, when it said, but he is a Jew which is one inwardly. So it's showing you that a Jew is one inwardly. Now just watch this. And this is why you had like the Jews was persecuted, the uncircumcised. Now, what was happening back in the Greek captivity, they were forbidding the Israelites, which were, was to stop circumcising their children, meaning in the flesh, the circumcision of the flesh, male child, which was supposed to be circumcised on the 8th day. And also, they were compelling them to eat pork. They were reveling and dallying in the temple, and there was all profane things they made them forget the feast days. Now, the reason why you don't know about that history, because you have gotten rid of the book of Maccabees. Maccabees gives you that history, which is not in the 66 books where these Christian church deals with. Now, let me just show you something. Watch this, yeah? Let's go to the book of Maccabees. We're going to take it at 2nd Maccabees, chapter 6, verse 6. I just want to show you something. This is the history that you don't know. Those who don't deal with the Apocrypha, because you'll find the books of the Maccabees and other books that have been taken out of the Bible in the 18th century by the Protestants of the Roman Catholic Church. You'll find some of that history that is vital for you to understand what a lot of things that Paul is teaching is in the Apocrypha. Now, check this out, right? This is 2nd Maccabees 6 verse 6. Listen to this, yeah? Actually, you know what? I'm going to take it at verse 4. Watch this, yeah? 2nd Maccabees 6 verse 4. I'm going to read 4 down into 6. Listen to this. For the temple was filled with riot and reveling by the Gentiles. Now, this was natural Gentiles that was doing this as well. And it's, and it says, who dallied with harlots. You see, they turned the Most High's house into a whorehouse, yeah? And listen to this, and had to do with women within the circuit of the holy places. And here we go. And besides that, brought in things that were not lawful. Now here, listen to this now, verse 5. The altar also was defiled with profane things. They were sacrificing swine's flesh and all that in the temple. Yeah? And listen to this, which the law forbiddeth. You see, the law forbidded that. Now listen to this. Now verse 6, here's the point. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep the Sabbath days or ancient feast. See that? And it says, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew. See that? So it was unlawful for you even to be called a Jew. So if you cannot be called a Jew, what would you be calling yourself? A Greek, a Grecian, because you were in the Greek captivity. And that's why when you see Paul says there's neither Jew nor Greek, but we are all one, because those Greeks that were no longer allowed to be called Jews were calling themselves Grecians, and they were living as Greeks. So now what was happening, the Jews that was keeping the law were looking at these other Jews that were now taking on Greek fashions and customs and calling themselves Grecians, uncircumcised, being not in the flesh. Now they were saying, we're more righteous than you. We're more righteous than you. We kept all the laws. You're not with us. You're nothing to do with us. Now the circumcision was persecuting the uncircumcised. But Paul was trying to come in and say, listen, they're your brothers. So, a Jew is not one outwardly, and that's what he meant when he was talking, when he was talking about in Romans 2:28. He was trying to explain to his southern brothers that a Jew isn't one outwardly, it's the inner man, the inner spirit. So he was trying to convince his southern kingdom brothers to let the northern kingdom back in. That's what that's about. It's nothing to do with no spiritual Israel, because they were all born of the seed and the loins of Jacob. See, that's what we have to get clear. Now, I'm going to read verse 29 of Romans 2:28. Watch this, yeah? Romans chapter 2 and verse 29. And it reads, but he is a Jew which is one inward, and circumcision is that of the heart in the spirit, and not in the latter, whose praise is not of men, but of God. Now you see, those Jews that were circumcised were saying these men that were uncircumcised are unclean. So Paul's trying to say, it's not in the latter. Your heart now had to be circumcised, meaning you have to pick up the laws, statutes, commandments and do them. Because, see, the thing is, right, those men, like, let's look at the law, right? The law, if you ate pork, you were unclean, no salvation, you were cast out of the congregation. If you, if you weren't circumcised on the 8th day, yeah, you were in violation of the law, no salvation, yeah. If you didn't keep the Sabbath, you profane the holy day, boom, no salvation, and all these things. But these are the things that these northern kingdom brothers were doing, yeah. But you see, now Christ coming gave them a chance to come back, and that's what Paul was teaching. And these were natural Israelites. They were not Gentiles, say, of another nation. They were natural Israelites, but they didn't know, because through the generation they were keeping Grecian customs and laws and stuff like that. They were not keeping anything that of their forefathers, what they should have done. Now, and this was a decree. Watch this, yeah? Let's go to the book of Hosea. Watch this. I'm going to show you this, yeah? This was a decree by the mighty prophet Hosea. Listen to this. Hosea chapter 4 and verses... We'll take it at verse 17. Listen to this, man. Remember, I read to you in Kings, First Kings, where the kingdom was split. You had Ephraim, which was the head tribe, was the house of Israel, of the northern kingdom, and then you had Judah, which was the southern kingdom, the head of the southern kingdom, and there was the house of Judah. Now listen to this, Hosea chapter 4 and verse 17, and it reads, Ephraim is joined to idols, let him alone. You see, the southern kingdom was commanded not to deal with the northern kingdom, yeah, back then, yeah, because they were joined to idols. They were profaning the holy days and the feast days. You know, they was worshipping idolatry. They went into idolatry, and there was a partition between them, and it was you know what, let me just read this. Listen to this, Hosea chapter 4 and verse 15, and it reads, though thou Israel played the harlot, yet listen to this. So let me take it again. Hosea chapter 4 verse 15, though thou Israel played the harlot, yet let not Judah offend. You see, showing you the split right there. Let not Judah offend, because Judah was still keeping the laws, statutes, and commandments at that point. And it says, and come not ye unto Gilgal, neither go ye up to Bethaven, nor sweareth the Lord liveth, nor swear the Lord liveth. Now there was a boundary that the northern kingdom were not allowed to come beyond, and that was what that scripture now is explaining. And watch this, verse 16, and it reads, for Israel slideth back as a backsliding heifer, now the Lord will feed them as a lamb in a large place. Go into slavery. That's going. So now that's what that's going into. So now when Paul was now trying to teach, he was trying to show he's the Jews that these people are your brethren. Yeah? And he was trying to show them that a Jew is not one outwardly, like circumcision of the flesh. It was your heart had to be circumcised now. That's what Paul was trying to teach. So he was just trying to let them accept his brothers back in. Now watch this, yeah? We're going to jump to the book of Romans. Watch this. I'm going to show you something more. Romans chapter 11. We're going to take it at Romans 11 verse 18 actually. Listen to this, yeah? Romans chapter 11 verse 18, and it reads, boast not against the branches, but if thou boast, thou bearest not the root, but the root thee. Now, you have to understand what Paul is saying. Now, they were boasting against the branches. Who are the branches? The branches are the Israelites, like the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. They're both branches. But remember what it said there, but thou bearest not the root. The root is Yahushua, the one you call Christ, because we stem from him. Yeah, so we don't bear the root, we're the branches. So he's saying to them, don't boast against the other brother. They're your brothers. Don't boast against them. Don't be saying, well, I kept all the laws, I'm circumcised, I'm clean, this and that. Because these brothers couldn't do it because of the persecution, what they were under. Because Antiochus ordered that any children that were circumcised will be put to death. And when you read in the Maccabees, the mothers had to, those who were circumcised and found, some were burnt, and some of them had to have their children hanging around their necks. It was a decree by Antiochus. You can read that in Maccabees, yeah? Maccabees 1, if you go to 1 Maccabees chapter 1, verse 48 to 50, it explains it in there. So, I'm telling you, this is a big thing. And now, the grafting in, a lot of people are trying to say, yeah, but the grafting in was the grafting in of the Gentiles. Yeah. Now, remember, they were called Gentiles because they forgot who they were. That's why they were called Gentiles. And watch this. I'm going to prove that. Watch this. Yeah. Now, this is Romans. We stay in Romans, actually, chapter 11. Watch this. Now, the grafting in, yeah. In Romans 11:23. Watch this, yeah. Just see what you think of this, yeah. Actually, I'm going to take it at verse 22. Listen to this. Romans chapter 11, verse 22. And it reads, behold, therefore, the goodness and severity of God on them which fell. Severity. See, those that fell, they went into captivity. So, the Most High severely punished them. Listen to this. But towards thee, goodness. Here we go. If stipulation, if thou continue in his goodness, otherwise thou also shall be cut off. So you see, if we don't continue in his goodness, we'll be cut off, just like the northern kingdom was. But listen to this now. But since Christ has came, watch this, yeah, verse 23. And they also, listen to this, if they abide not still in unbelief, so if they abide not still in unbelief, they start believing and doing what they should do, keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, listen to this, shall be grafted in. So see, that's the grafting in. They shall be grafted in. But here's the point now, still in verse 23, check this out. For God is able to graft them in again. Now, that's the point. You hear that? Graft them in again. So check that out. You couldn't be a natural Gentile and be grafted in again, because Paul is showing you that in order to be grafted in again, you had to have been from that fold in the first place, cast out, and then be reconciled, be brought back in through the Messiah, the one you call Christ. Yeah? That's what that's about. So he grafted back in again. Yeah? So check that out. Listen to this, yeah? I want to jump to quickly, boy, time's running so fast. I just want to quickly show you this. Book of Ephesians. There's something important I want to show you here. Watch this. Ephesians chapter 2 and verse 11. Listen to this, yeah? Ephesians chapter 2 verse 11. And it reads, wherefore remember that ye being in times past Gentiles in the flesh. You see, they were in time past, they were Gentiles because they were uncircumcised and all that. They were Gentiles in the flesh. You hear that point? Who were called uncircumcision by that which is called the circumcision in the flesh, made by hands. See that? So that's showing you that the Jews were, calling the ones that were uncircumcised, they'll call them unclean and all that. Yeah? Watch this, verse 12. Listen to this. This is a good point. I want you to hear this. Verse 12 of Ephesians chapter 2. That at that time ye were without Christ, being alien from the commonwealth of Israel, and strangers of the covenant of promise, having no hope, without God in the world. You see that? Now, remember that point. In that verse, it told you about them being aliens and strangers to the covenant. Listen, see, this is one thing about Paul. Paul knew everything. So you have to, see, Paul was a Pharisee, a doctor in the law. So anything Paul is talking, you have to go to the law to substantiate everything he says. Now, listen to this, yeah? Psalms. Where was Paul on about? Psalms, listen to this. See, Paul knew these scriptures like the back of his hand. He knows what he's teaching. Psalms 69. Watch this, yeah? Psalms 96. No, Salaki. Psalms 69. Yeah, we're going to go, yeah. Psalms 69 verses, we'll take it at verse 8. Listen to this, yeah? Psalm 69 verse 8. And it reads, I am become a stranger unto my brethren, and an alien unto my mother's children. See, David said that. Paul knew what David said. So he's only quoting that, showing you those people were Israelites. Well, I'm sorry, but I'm about to time out. This really topic needs much more time, but I just wanted to touch on that so you get the point. So there was so much more I needed to say on this, because there's a lot that is just being taken out of context by the Christian church. But those people that Paul was talking to and about were Israelites. I hope you got something with that. This is Yasharallah. I'm about to time out. As always, until next time, we out.